where we stopped last time. This is the second part of the introduction that we had the first part on, I think, end of March. I can't exactly remember the date, but it is towards the end of March. We had a long lapse, so almost 2 months now. I hope you can remember what we discussed last time. We were discussing about how to get going with the research, how to define the area of research, how to pick a suitable topic for your research, and the preliminary preparations that you need to make. And also we were talking about smart the setting objectives and the smart framework that we discussed. Lastly, towards the end of the presentation, we discussed about, can you please go to the previous couple of slides? Yeah, we discussed very briefly how an effective literature search can be done. And coming back to the slide number 58, now today what we are going to discuss is something very important. I think this is very important when you start your work as a novice or not very well experienced technical writer. I think what we are discussing today might be useful. I'm not going to tell you how to do research, but I'm going to tell you something that you need to keep in mind when you start your work on academic writing and academic writing after conducting research. Right? Even during your initial research, the things that we discuss today might be helpful, useful, right? Now, the section of the presentation today, the second part of the introduction to scientific writing, is useful tips to have a focus when conducting the initial literature search and reading. Your initial focus. Now, I'll be giving you some examples where you have to make some note on them so that these practical tips might be useful to stay focused when you begin the process. I'm still giving some introduction, Pras Bandhani. Now, before going into literature search, I think in the coming weeks, you will be looking at literature search and then the literature review part of it. It is important to have a focus right from the beginning of your research, right? So next couple of slides will introduce you some practical tips that will guide you with your initial reading and your search process to select the most important literature that you need to focus on, and also what type of writing styles that you also can adopt in your own writing, right? So one crucial area that I will stress is to pay attention on how the language is used in developing arguments, because these arguments mean a lot in scientific writing. Recognizing these arguments, the pattern of argument, and how authors have structured their writing, their claims, will help you to first to pick very interesting, very important research papers, and then you also will develop your critical ability to critically evaluate the arguments, which is very important in your literature review, right? Always remember literature, what most of, I think, at least 80% of what you are doing is summarizing literature. That is not important in scientific research and writing and dissemination of knowledge. You need to review the literature critically so that you deduce certain things. You deduce new knowledge, right? Next slide, please. Next slide. Now we move on to something really important. Now, how to highlight the research need, how to build your research question, how to build the arguments that you want to make. Right? This is a skill that you will be using over and over again when writing papers. So when you read, you need to note some of the features that others are using to make the arguments, right? One thing that you need to try to understand is how writers highlight a gap in knowledge, the need for conducting the research, how to formulate the research need, and then the methods and the objectives, right? Right. Now let us see how do we that effectively. Now you can see in this slide, you can see some adverbs. These adverbs, now starting with but, nevertheless, nonetheless, still, yet, these are very simple words, right? But they, in scientific writing, they are incredibly powerful. Very, very powerful, right? These adverbs are referred to as sometimes contrastive adverbs. Contrastive adverbs, it contrasts certain things. Sometimes some refer to some of these as concessive adverbs. Concessive adverbs, they give some concession from one meaning to the other, right? So anyway, if you want to make connections, if you want to contrast certain arguments, you use these adverbs. You don't have to understand these the meanings of contrastive and concessive adverbs, but just remember these simple phraseology, the phrases, even though they are very small words or expressions. Uh, Most of we take that for granted. Even when we are talking, we always say but, yet, although. Now but is a word that we always use in spoken language. Even in written language, you use that. Right? But understand the meaning. Even now I use but. Uh, Understand the meaning of these very powerful adverbs, right? But, however, even nevertheless, though, although, not now. I have given a list, right? Now, these words will modify a certain understanding, or something that looks like true, but you want to make some contrast. Right. Now, let us see how we are going to use some of these. I will give you some examples. Now, take the very simple word, but, the first word here, or nevertheless, even nonetheless, right? Still, yet, though, although. You have so many even so. So you have, you might be wondering why these are so important, right? Right now, let me give you some examples to really see the point that I want to give you, right? Just one example now. Uh, now, just I have written some examples which I took from various writings. Now, these take this sentence. Many studies have explored how social media affects. Uh, no, please, yeah, please stay back. Right, stay back. I'm just giving some examples from my own writing here in front of me. Now, just consider this example, right? Many studies have explored how social media affects students' health. The second sentence, however, very few have looked at its impact on critical thinking. Right? Now, can you see there are two sentences? The first sentence is how many studies have explored how social media has affected students' mental health. However, very few have looked at its impact. Now, can you see the two sentences are connected by however, but the second sentence starts with however, and it introduces contrast. Now, the first sentence is now many have explored something. However, there's a gap. So you're highlighting the gap using the word however, right? I will read those two sentences again. Many studies have explored how social media affects students' mental health. However, very few have looked at its impact on critical thinking. Now, can you see the gap? Many have studied the impact on social media on mental health, but very few have looked at its impact on critical thinking. Now, that is the gap that is identified by these two sentences. Now, can you see the beauty of that writing? This word, however, connects the two sentences, and that contrasts the first sentence, and helps us to highlight the gap in the existing research, right? So if I give you another example, right? There are two sentences here. There is a growing body of research on renewable energy. Yet, most of these studies focus on solar and wind power generation. Now, can you see there's a lot of research that has been done on renewable energy, but most of these studies are on solar and wind. Now, that is connected by another word, yet. This yet also is something that gives a very strong connection between the two. And this word yet suggests something missing from the research that has already been done, right? Another example, most of us agree that AI will transform data analysis techniques. Nevertheless, concerns remain about data privacy and bias. Right? This word nevertheless, this adverb here, nevertheless here. Now the second in the list gives again now, even though all of us agree that AI will transform data analysis, concerns remain, right? So now you contrast the first sentence with the second sentence, and you contrast from the previous fact that you are presenting, and you are deviating from that. That deviation gives you to the room for conducting further research. That is the research need that you do, right? So this constructive these adverbs, these contrastive adverbs or expressions will help you to build your arguments, right? What is known, and then you put the adverb in between, and then you identify what is unknown or what has to be done, the research need, the gap, right? So that is how you highlight the need for your research, right? Now you need to remember now from this slide, this is a very important slide. Now the last sentence that I have given here used to introduce, now all these adverbs are used to introduce a statement that contrasts or seems to contrast, right? Or in most cases, it contradicts something that has been said previously. Now, when you contrast and you highlight the contradiction, that is room for you to do further research. That is how you identify the research need, right? So whenever you read the papers, try to look at these adverbs, this contrastive adverbs or sometimes we refer to as concessive adverbs. They are so interesting, right? So these are not magic words, but these are very, very useful words. Professor Banduri, next slide, please. No, I don't have the cursor with me. Now, this is a section that I have taken from a previously published paper. The title of the paper is given above, and the DOI number. So I have provided some underlines here. Now let us read this very quickly, and I will highlight certain things where you need to note to understand how this writing is being done. And let us look at the beauty of this writing. Now, right now, just now, I have taken these all the examples that I give you from the civil engineering specialization, because I'm civil engineer, which I'm easy to understand. But with due respect to all other engineering professions, now these are just examples that I'm taking to make a point. Now, this paper is on finite element analysis of slope stability. Now, this introduction starts with a very general statement, which gives again very important information. Now, this is how you should be writing your introduction of your thesis, your research paper, even the research proposal that you are doing. These introductions are all the same. The only difference is when you are putting things together in a thesis, your introduction would be very long, longer than what you do in a research paper or a conference paper. You start with a very general statement. In both geotechnical engineering practice and academia, the problem of slope stability has been a subject of investigation for at least 7 decades. Can you see the first sentence of this paper gives some importance to what these researchers are doing, right? So that is the thesis statement given by these, right? And the second sentence, many solutions proposed in accordance to the available computation. So he is now establishing what they are planning to do, right? The second paragraph immediately goes into their focus of study. Limit equilibrium methods, or LEMs, of slope stability analysis, which are based on the method of slices and assume predefined slip surfaces, are widely documented in the literature. Now, the second paragraph, he directly jumped into what they are doing, right? So he's looking at LEMs, right? Now, the red line that I've given here, although now this is the adverb that you had to focus attention on. Although LEMs are still considered as design tools for their simplicity, they are subjected to several disadvantages. Now, can you see? Now, he has started with a very general statement on the field, and then narrowed down to what they are planning to do in this study. And then directly he says with this word, although, now the flow of writing has completely derailed by this particular word, although, right? Although what previous researchers have done, they are subject to several disadvantages. Now, this is a direct identification of the research need, right? So when you read this paper, by looking at this word, although, you can you can straight away look at the research need. Now, they have not said that there's a research need to conduct research because of this. But the beauty of this writing is, without saying that, these authors use the word although. Although yeah, LEMs are still considered as design tools, this sentence begins with the concessive, the conjunction or the adverb that I was talking to you. Now, although LEMs are still being considered, this is a very classic word, right? This word, although, introduces a contrasting adverb that follows with the gap, right? They are subjected to several disadvantages. These are the things that he is now going to highlight. Now, if there are several disadvantages relevant to the assumptions, now somebody has to do something, right? That is what these researchers are doing, right? So this now this highlights again. Now this sentence is very beautiful, because it first introduces something. They're still considered design tools for their simplicity and reliability. Now, LEMs are very good because they are very simple and very reliable, right? So he at the same at the same time, he is saying that they are subjected to several disadvantages, but still they are very simple and reliable. So he identifies the benefits also. Even though there are benefits, uh, there are disadvantages. Now, by looking at this particular paragraph, or the sentence starting with, I'm sorry, I don't have the cursor. The third paragraph starting with although LEMs. Now, it identifies the strengths as well as weaknesses, right? Now they are going to look at the weaknesses in their research, right? Now then, towards the end of the paragraph on the right hand side, I have highlighted too. Now, looking at the last sentence here, Swan and Seo compared results of both SRM and GIM and concluded that neither method showed a clear superiority. Now, see, now, this is the type of literature review, right? Now, he is not saying that so on and what they have said, but he has compared the results of both, and then he's trying to pick up the conclusions and highlight and relate that to what what they are doing. Again, he has another adverb here. However, Now he's going to now, even though these two Swan and Geo, even though they have compared and concluded something, but still there's something. There's a gap of their conclusion, right? So this, however, here at the end, the right hand side, the bottom line, however, is used to contrast the previous conclusion of Swan and CO, right? Which they say neither method showed a clear superiority, but these researchers have some doubts on that. Right now, by looking at this write up, you know what their objective. Even without going to their objectives, you know now that they are looking at the 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 disadvantages that they try to highlight, and also the conclusions of the Swan and CO should be thought it should be given some serious thought, right? So this however gives some transition to the previous studies, and that gives a very good basis for further studies, right? By highlighting the Geo and CO concluded that now he agrees with what they are saying, but he contrasts by saying, however, Sternik 2013 found that now see now this particular piece of writing. Now these write-ups I just picked randomly for just for no reason that I took this because it was I picked this because it's easy for me to explain my points here, right? Can you please go to the next Prasbandhani? Now, this is a summary. I'm going to highlight two. No, previous one. Previous slide, please. Yeah, I'm going to highlight two things, although and however. Now, the first, the example that I gave you, although, it is a concessive adverb, it gives some contrast. LEMs are simple and reliable, but they have major flaws or some disadvantages. The second, however, it's a contrast. Now, these Swan and Sue has said something, but there's something wrong with that, right? So, so these are the two things that I wanted to highlight in this particular slide, right? Can you move to the next slide? Now, these examples have been taken from not from just one publication, but from 4 publications. I will just highlight certain. I've highlighted in red lines, which I want to highlight. These highlighted adverbs are the ones that I want to discuss now. Now, just read the first paragraph on left hand up. The above studies, you don't have to understand what they are, but just look at the sentence pattern. The above studies focus on the effect of vehicle loads on slope deformation characteristics, but there are few studies on the effect of vehicle loads. Let's see now. Now they say the above studies. There are so many studies which have focused on vehicle loads and slope deformation, but there are only few studies on the effect of vehicle loads on the change of slope stability coefficient. Right? Even though there's a lot of literature, there's only few studies on a particular aspect. Now, this particular word, but, the connection between the two sentences have given a very strong contrast from the first part of the sentence, connecting the second sentence, and this particular word, but, the particular adverb, but, introduces the the research gap, right? Therefore, now this word, this is not an adjective, it's an adverb anyway, but this word therefore is a connector, gives now that sentence presents what they are planning to do, their research. Now, because there are only a few studies, they are using some method to do certain things, right? Now they are using this SEEP W module. This therefore is a connector between the previous arguments and the next. So sometimes we refer to this as a logical connector because it's logically connected, the first part of the sentence, but it's a deviation, and then therefore is a connector, a logical connector, which presents a justification for what they are planning to do, right? Now, the second paragraph on the left-hand bottom, by zooming out to the spatial and temporal scales of surface processes, it is still possible to find evidence of thermally controlled landslides, right? Still possible to find evidence, right? Still, these methods are very strong, right? So he accepts these. Now, can you see now? I want to highlight here also. I want to highlight the literature review part. These are not summaries. Can you see now this by zooming out to spatial and temporal scales of surface processes? It's possible to find evidence of thermally controlled landslides. Now, evidence of thermally controlled landslides comes from these literature. Shibasaki, say Lombardo, Loesch et al., right? So this is how you have to put the literature review into writing, not just copying sentences and pasting them. Even the top paragraph here, the above studies have focused on, but there are only a few studies on the effect of vehicle loads. Now, these are the few studies that he is highlighting, right? If anybody wants to look at these, the few studies that they are referring to on effect of vehicle loads, they can look at these small, this Zhang et al., Zhang 2009-12, Wu, Wei et al. So you can see how this literature review has been put into writing. And the second, the paragraph on the right bottom, the part that I have highlighted in red, however, investigation of this matter has been so far limited. Now see this word, however, the adjective this contrastive adjective has given the writers a very good way of presenting the research need, right? So, and what they are planning to do. Investigation of this matter has been so far limited. That is the research need, right? And then he goes into say as much more effort has been put in to investigate the more important hydraulic controls even in the context of climate change. Now still now they are going to reinforce their research need by giving more and more examples, references from literature, right? See the beauty of this writing, how they have connected these sentences and how they are citing the literature from the published papers. This is the type of literature review that I'm talking of, not just cutting and pasting sentences from previous research, right? So now this even in the context of, now this is another logical connector, right? Connecting the previous research gap and another research gap, and giving a very strong need for conducting research, right? So it sets up the rationale for the further research. It gives a very strong basis for conducting their research, right? Uh, Now this word even also adds emphasis, right? So it also reinforces the research need, right? Now on the right hand side of the right up here, various studies have performed to evaluate the periodical performance of ML algorithms for stability. However, stacking ensemble ML methods and the significant role of accelerated predictive performance have not been explored for estimate. Now, can you see now he's starting with various studies. The previous studies have done so many things. However, something is missing. Something has not been explored, right? So this is again this word, however, has given a very strong basis for what they are doing, right? And the second paragraph on the right, in this study, FEM was used. This procedure has never been used. Can you see the way how you tell the reader the originality of what you are doing, the research need, the research question, right? the bottom the paragraph of the right hand side. Although the importance of intact rock bridges for slope stability has been widely recognized, there are still no mature methods. Can you see, starting with although the adverb, how they are planning to how they are establishing their argument, the research need, the basis for conducting research, blah 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 blah, right? So please take these as examples and see how you can formulate, how you can record and express your ideas, right, with reference to previous studies, and then making arguments, right. So one thing that I mentioned to you the other day, the previous lecture, I said literature review starts on day one and continues up to your thesis submission or your paper submission. During initial stages of your research, finding the research gap, the research need, defining your objectives, there is a most critical period in which you have to conduct your research. You have to be very, very thorough in finding literature, to find these connections and then put connections together and try to critically analyze them uh, to see what others have done and what has to be done next, which will be the basis for your research, uh, which will be the basis for uh, the next step, right? Next slide, please. Now, next slide gives you a very simple summary. Now, there are certain words that you can make use of in this particular slide, but therefore, however, even, and yet, and how they can be used in writing, right? Can we go to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yes. Now here also, now the first these three sections also have been taken from three different publications. The one on the top, the main name of the project, the present study is to conduct slope stability, and I highlighted the second sentence. Besides, to prepare SPC map using integrated oriented, there had to be something to be done next. But this word besides gives a strong way of saying what to be, what what has not been done, and what is the gap that you are going to fill, right? So besides on the first paragraph is used to add some additional aim and it gives it maintains the flow of logic and it gives some indication of what your objectives would be, right? Now the second the line sorry the paragraph on the left at the bottom, starting with in this context we propose blah blah, and I have highlighted one the now in the middle, you have two-dimensional stochastic fracture of traces, blah, blah. The aim is to understand the effect of rock bridge inclusion in rock slope stability analysis, whereas neglecting the persistence of structural discontinuous may lead to. Now, this word whereas, it's a conjunction. It's not an adverb, but this conjunction contrasts, right? What has been neglected is the basis for the study, right? So it strongly highlights the importance of the proposed approach by framing what might happen if that is being ignored. So he is going to highlight the presence of structural discontinuities may lead to oversimplification. You should not neglect them. If you neglect them, there will be repercussions. So they say so this neglecting certain aspects are highlighted here. So it is obvious that the researchers are going to focus on this persistence of structural discontinuities to say that oversimplification and unrealistic prediction should not be done, right? And on your right hand side, you have another example here. Uh, uh, just different geometries that are problematic are calculated by kinematic limit, blah blah blah. This by considering the removable finite blocks. Now, this word adjective again has given a logical introduction which deviates from the previous sentence, and it gives some reasoning for the progression of the research, right? And the second red line here, in case the input values are ambiguous, this ambiguity is the basis for conducting research, right? So for this purpose and this clarity, these links are all justified, and this write-ups might give some basis for further conducting research. Next slide, Prasbandhani. I have summarized the adverbs and the connectors where you can use them for effective writing. Besides, whereas, thus, for this purpose, all these are very useful words to use. Next slide, please. Now, this is about originality. Now, now you are always asking whether my research is. I'm not sure whether my research is original, right? And your supervisor might also always say come after you asking what is the originality of your research. Now, when we talk of original, now we are all not going to do a groundbreaking research. We are not aiming our research at. Now, if it's good if you can a Nobel Prize. We are not looking at the best research to be conducted in the world, but with a little practice, you might aim at so say high quality research in time to come, right? When we talk about originality, originality in research, it is important that we understand certain things. Understand that it doesn't mean that you need to reinvent the wheel all the time, right? So that's why we need we need to do some literature review to see what others have done. You can take all those as the basis for conducting your research, right? Uh, now these major breakthroughs or entirely new discoveries are very rare in academic world, right? Now, if the with limited resources that we have, they might be even more rarer, right? So don't ever think that we are always aiming at very high quality research, but you can take one step at a time. Say, put some more effort next time, put more effort, and put all the research together and see the quality of the research, right? So one small step at a time might give you a very strong standing in time to come, right? But always remember, originality is not just repeating what others have done, right? So don't repeat what others have done. Always look at the next step. How much smaller that step would be, right? So the third bullet point here, producing an original piece of work simply means moving an idea forward by an incremental amount for the next generation to continue. This incremental amount can be small, it can be large, whatever that is, whether it's large or small, if you can contribute to the advancement of the field of study by even a minute fraction, that's good. So, adding something new to this conversation, perhaps by applying some existing idea, always remember that producing an original piece of research means pushing some idea forward. Can be just a little, can be very strongly, you can put some arguments together. But don't be discouraged, right? With time, with experience, you will move forward, definitely, right? The next example, please. Now, this is how these two writers, these are two write-ups, how these two writers have highlighted the originality of their research, right? the paragraph on the left highlights the originality through development of a new method, right? They are planning to build a new method, and they have identified a gap. Now, can we go through this? I mean, don't try to understand, but just go through the write-up. As far as the slope stability analysis has always been a crucial concern in geotechnical engineering, with no doubt, the FEM is the most appropriate way to deal. However, now he is highlighting the strength of slope stability analysis and FEM. However, the inherent disadvantages regarding the foregoing methods weaken the reliability. Now, very strongly, he provides an argument to focus to study that further, right? Because there are lots of inherent disadvantages, so we can't move forward from here, right? So, starting from the principles. So he's starting from the principle, stating that failure so he's now trying to look at a certain established principles of slope stability analysis, and he highlights FEM in the first paragraph, and then now the inherent advantages. He's now trying to focus on these inherent advantages, and then he's trying to propose a new approach. Now that is why his new approach. Now he's now going to describe here, starting the principles. From the principle stating that the failure is any deformable body is caused by the change in stresses. So he's introducing some kind of a numerical procedure. Now, if you just go just by further, he's introducing more Coulomb's criteria, and then he's introducing another method called stress deviator increasing method, SDIM. And then he's going to do some computational methodology, and he's trying to develop a Fortran computer program for soil stability study, stress deviator. Now, this is the novelty of that study. Starting from principles, he's building a novel method for slope stability analysis, right? So the proposed approach now. Uh, the equations, and so he's always trying to highlight the benefits of his own method. And if you can just look at the right hand side. Now here his novelty comes from this probably using the linearity of more Coulomb's criteria. I'd say introducing new method called SDIM, and the methods, computational tools that the researchers are developing. So there is the novelty, right? So if you have to highlight the focus of your research, highlight what problem that you are going to answer. That problem and the answer would be the novel. Will provide the novelty. Now on the right hand side, this is a very short write up, but it is a very compact write up, right? Now just have a look at this write up. Blah blah blah. Combination was conducted again to extract the principal components of these assessment indexes. The PCA-GA SVM model was employed in training samples and test samples in the study area accordingly. The complex relationships between factors were effectively solved, and a novel idea for the prevention and control of highway slope was proposed. Now, in this they are using modern AI techniques, right? The machine learning models like PCA, and SVM to analyze slope stability, right? Now, this is now they're moving far away from what has been done during the last 30, 40 years by integrating machine learning methods in slope stability, right? And they are highlighting the use of these machine learning methods in principal component analysis, and they are they are training samples and testing data sets. They're all new in this particular application, right? So, and they say accordingly. Now, this word accordingly as a connector is very important because by using these, the complex relationships between factors were effectively solved. This effective solving the complex relationships would be the novelty, right? So whenever you need to focus on the objectives and then the novelty of the work, again, the words that you use, the connectors that you use will be very important, right? So now, Prasbandhuri, the next slide, you can skip the next slide. It's the same as the previous one. Yeah, no, please, yeah, have there, right? I have now summarized what I have just discussed in the previous slide, right? Now, if you need to acknowledge the existing methods, this is how the previous example that what they have done, right? If you want to highlight the limitations, this is how that those authors have done. However, the inherent disadvantages weakens the reliability. This is a crucial turning point. They use however to signal the shift, right? If you want to justify a new method, how they have done it, and how to highlight a literature supported gap, this is how they have used it, right? The previous literature, I think you have to keep the previous example side by side, and when you have time, please go through this slide, compare these points with the previous example. You will understand better. And the next slide, please. Use of initial literature search. And now, the initial literature search is very important. Now, the initial literature search, as I told you before, now is very important to find the research gap, what others have done, what needs to be done, and what is the gap, and how we are going to fill the gap. All these cannot be done without a proper literature search and a review. And next, even when you want to build your research methods, again, you have to read a lot, identify what others have done in achieving a learned outcome, right? And then by using the literature to identify the gap, you build the research question, then you use the literature to choose the right method also, right? So the first question that I have given here, what do you need to find out? How are you going to do this? Now you need to refer to what others have done to answer this, right? uh, what do you need to find out? You need to very clearly define your objectives, right? If your objectives are clear based on the research gap and the research question and the research need, once you know what you are going to do, that is your goal of your research, aim of your research, you can start looking for methods that will help you to do the study, right? And then the second bullet here, is there more than one way of finding out what you need to do, right? So whenever you find one particular method, the second question is, there are any other ways of finding the same, right? There can be more than one possible method, right? Say if you are doing mathematical models, different ways of formulating your algorithms and your solving equations. If you are doing an experiment, there can be different ways that you can synthesize novel material. If you are planning to do a field-based study, there can be different ways of doing the field-based study, right? So there are usually most probably can be more than one possible method, right? So doing an experiment, doing surveys, doing interviews, observations, doing modeling studies. So by reading the literature, by comparing them, that will help you to come to a refined methodology to be adopted in your research. The third bullet point, what methods have the other people used in the situations? That is why you need to look at the past research. And you have to ask what others have done. Did they use a particular method? Why they have used that? Did they prefer, why have they preferred this particular way of doing experiments, the case studies, the modeling, right? So that way of thinking, the critical thinking, the reasoning will give you a lot of time to think about. You might develop your own methods, and your method might be the original contribution to your research, right? The fourth, what are the strengths and limitations of the methods you are considering? Now, when you are developing the methods, that is the core of your research work, right? Building the methodology, right? Whenever you are planning the research, this planning the methodology is so important, because once you conduct the research, when you follow the methodology, and if something goes wrong, you can't come back and then correct them, right? It might be a waste of resources, waste of time, waste of money, waste of efforts, and you will be stuck somewhere, right? So you have to before embarking on a project, before starting a project, always look at the strengths and limitations of the method that you are looking at. That is the fourth bullet point that I've given here. What are the strengths and limitations? Always look at the limitations. If the limitations are more than the strengths, look for another reliable method to do the research, because the limitations might give you give will not give you any prominence for what you are doing, right? So your methods should be reliable. It should be within your resources. What are the most critical resources that you have? Your past experience, knowledge, and the guidance that you get from your supervisor. You can't be just searching something in the dark. Either you have to know something about the topic, or your supervisor need to know something about the topic. So your previous exposure, your previous training is the first resource that you have. The second resource that you have, time. Time is always a very precious resource that you have in conducting research. For a PhD, for a MSc, for undergraduate research, even for funded research, probably the funding is available only for 3 months. Time is a very precious resource that you have. The third, uh, the budget that you have, right? The physical resources that you have, money, the research funding, equipment, and all other resources to conduct, physical resources to conduct the research, right? So your method should match with all these, right? Without which don't ever adopt that particular research, right? And knowing the limitations, knowing the less accuracy of these methods, don't ever embark on research, because you are taking a lot of risks. You need to take risks in conducting research, because you are touching upon things in the unknown realm, unknown arena, unknown areas. That is the risk that you take, but you have to take calculated risks. Don't ever start with methods which have limitations, right? But there can now all some methods are not 100% without any limitations, but you need to be satisfied. For that, please talk to others who are experts on the field. Refer to previous studies conducted, because these limitations, you can't record them in your thesis, in your research paper, because these limitations will distract the reader, the evaluators, right? And the last, the bullet point here, how do these limitations influence what you can find? Now, these limitations how it influence what you can find out, and how can you conclude? Right? That is very important. Every method has trade-offs, right? So, looking at literature, talking to others' opinions will guide you to understand what kind of results that you will get by applying a certain method, right? What you can expect and what you cannot expect, right? So therefore trying to so defining the methods is so important, and then how to write the methods in your write-up. The next slide, Prasbandhuni. Next slide is are two examples. No, the previous slide. Previous slide, please. Previous slide. Yes, yes. Uh, don't move. Next slide. Yeah. Now, these are again two examples. These examples are to emphasize how methodology can be recorded in your write-up, right? Now, first, the yeah, these two are taken from the same publication. The reference of the publication is given above. And by looking at this is urban development versus wetland loss in coastal Latin American city, lessons for sustainable land use planning. The study area is defined here. The study focuses on blah blah wetland located in the northern CMA. The CMA, the area is given, is located in south central Chile. According to the 2017 population and housing, the number of inhabitants, it formerly accounted for a large extension of coastal wetlands developed from confluence. However, since 1975, there are some have been some changes. The studied wetland covered 767 hectares. Now, by looking at the description of the study area, you can see now he's trying to discuss about certain uh, uh, areas with respect to various figures. Now, this figure one, don't have the figure one here. It gives a definite picture of this place, right? And he's also looking at temporal variation of these areas because he's looking at the wetland loss, right? For wetland loss, the study area has to define before the loss and after the loss, right? So he's looking at 1975 and he's looking at 2014, he's looking at 2017. Now he's with the short write up here, he's planning to. So he has managed to describe the area in full, right? Just a short write up, very comprehensive. Now on the right hand side, this particular author tries to summarize the methodology adopted, right? Now you can see the wetland area and the remaining land use and land cover categories for both 2004, 2014. Now, 2004, 2014 is the loss that the comparison that they are going to do, I suppose, were detected using the remote sensing methods. Now, first, he's referring to this particular author, Vasquez 2013. Now, this reference is made because uh, the comparison, the categories, the land cover categories are taken from this particular reference. He is not building them. So he's referring to the previously published paper. The authors build their approach by validating or say adopting a previously published the paper and referring to this Vasquez method, citing it very effectively. So if Vasquez is correct, I'm also correct. Right? So he's passing on the credit to Vasquez and using the same for the area definition, right? And then the second part, who selects the most abundant wetland, blah blah. We use two Landsat images, 30-meter pixels, Landsat STM, right? So gives a lot of references to the sources that data were extracted from, right? So the decision, the author's decision to use this Landsat imagery, for example, this TM, I don't know what they are, but I'm just looking at what they have said here. OLI, TRI, all those things here. Uh, Now is backed by best practices in the field, right? Now they are going to they are referring to certain standards and then establishing that they are all standard methods in the field. Right, and also now this again now they are referring to another paper here. This WGS 85 datum and radiometrically corrected. Now, now he's not. He might define. He might describe it later. But this correction, he's not describing because he's referring to the previous paper. He identifies that this data has to be this radiometrically corrected, but he's not describing it that because he has done the correction based on this Chandra's method, right? So if he's repeating it here, it's a redundant information, right? Rather than just repeating the information here, he has given the reference. But if this is a thesis, you can describe all this because for a thesis, the introduction can be a couple of pages. But for a paper, you just give the reference and you remain silent there because if anybody wants to see how this data to be radiometrically corrected, they can refer to this reference, right? And then in the last paragraph on the bottom on the right hand side, following previous studies, image classification was performed using maximum likelihood classification, thereafter ML. And he's referring to this another reference in the middle of the last paragraph, Rojas et al. Uh, and the this met now so now he's establishing certain methods and he's saying that these methods are precise, but he's referring to previous methods and then he remains silent because they are widely used, very credible, effective, because previously they have been used in the previous studies and they have come up with good results, right? So this is how you have to frame your methodology with the use of previous work, right? Now you can see this small paragraph contains a lot of information by referring to previously published research. All these research findings are included in here. Unless otherwise, thesis that you are preparing, don't ever explain what these are. If it is a paper, refer to the previous work and then remain silent. Not remaining silent, but you make the references and then you make the link and the methodological decision that you have made uh, is connected to previous work. For example, the remote sensing work, Landsat sensors, classification techniques, these radiometrically corrections, all these have been successfully adopted in this study because these similar methods have been used in the previous past, right? Uh, this shows that these authors are aware of the previous work, the best methodologies that have been used in the previous work, and it establishes this reference of these successfully conducted previous research establishes the validity of this research as well, the reliability of this the research as well. So you can if you go through these write-ups, you can see a very logical flow of information from one sentence to the other, right? So these examples I give you, even though I picked, I have gone through a couple of papers and picked the best example, but I've not gone through hundreds and hundreds of papers, but just a couple of papers, picked these good write-ups. So to just give you some examples of how these your ideas can put together, connect them with the previous research, and then describe yourself. The next slide, please. You have gone to the next slide. Now these are this is the summary of the previous slide. You can keep the previous example side by side and compare that with this particular slide. How to establish, how to cite previous methods, justify tools and methods, pre-processing techniques supported by literature, the methods of classification, further support from literature. Those are some of the examples that I wanted to highlight from the previous example. Please keep the previous slide side by side and then have a look at the analysis that I've done. Then the next slide. Uh, use of literature for critical analysis. This critical analysis is so important in your writing. In any research, if you don't have any critical analysis, it will be just a reporting of your research. Reporting of your research might not be that meaningful, right? So at your level of academic study, whether you are an undergraduate, postgraduate, or you are a senior researcher, it's 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 not enough simply to collect data information, just record them, just say what you have observed without demonstrating the ability to analyze. I mean, you need to analyze the observations, information, data, and so you need to go beyond just reporting the numbers, observations, and results. You have to always say, now I have the second sentence. What does this mean? Always you conduct the research, and towards the end of your research, before you record the research findings, always ask, what does this mean? That is very important, right? So what does this mean? Not just ask what happened. If you just write what happened, it is just reporting. It's not interesting. But really, if you ask, what does this mean? Why it is important? Yes, that will be very, very useful. That is very important. So right from now onwards, this is the introduction of your research communication. Uh, Always try to analyze what you have found. Always try to describe. Always try to make connections. Right? The first one. Right? So what analysis can mean? Correlation and interpretation of experimental data. Always try to correlate and try to interpret the observations that you have got, or results that you have got, right? Say if you're doing a survey, what the survey would say tell you, right? Now, if you just for example, it's a very simple example. You are looking at how people use energy at home level, right? Uh, Now, if you just say now 60% of the people leave lights on for 5 hours, right? Well, these are just numbers. 60% of the people out of 100 that you surveyed keeps their lights on for 3 hours. No, that doesn't mean anything. Now, then you have to say why you selected these 100 people, why they use lights for 2 hours, and why is the rest not using switching on the lights for the next, sorry, for 3 hours. You analyze this and you interpret this, right? Not just say what you have observed. So if you are doing some water quality analysis, if you say that the BOD level is 35, uh, pH is 7.5. These are the ones that I have observed. So that scientific write-up is meaningless. No, so there's nothing to take from that. You have to say why the BOD is, whether the BOD is high or low. You have to compare that with the standard and say why, if it is high, why it is high, and then why did you measure that? And then say if you are trying to clean up the water body, say how you are going to do it, because that 35 milligrams per liter might be useful in devising treatment methods, right? So you're just not recording your observations. You say uh, uh, why your observations are important, right? What does this mean? That is the question that you need to answer. Now, the second bullet point: comparison of data and results with previous findings. Always try to compare results with the previous findings, right? To see now in the water quality example that I gave you, not you compare the water quality data with standards. That's a comparison, because the comparison will give you some basis for interpretation, right? Uh, Now, if you say, for example, if you say I sleep 6 hours a day, right? Now that doesn't mean anything. If I compare with others sleep 8 hours a day. Then I say I sleep less than others. That is the interpretation of 6 hours of sleeping, right? If you don't compare with the others, 6 hours of sleeping, that doesn't mean anything, right? So if you compare with others, okay, all my friends sleep for 8 hours. Only I sleep for 6 hours. Then you compare and you say, yeah, I sleep less, right? And the third analysis analysis of uncertainties and errors of data. Always when you when you observe something, always try to find any limitations, right? Uncertainties, errors in data, because these limitations might give you the basis for your next step of the study, right? The fourth bullet point, discussion of why methods, procedures should be changed. So the third bullet point is connected with the fourth, right? So if you find some errors, some improvements to be made, if you know that if you have missed something, if experiments have gone wrong, if your model development has not worked, then you modify the method. That's also part of your learning process, right? uh, you know one way, at least one way not to do certain things. You know, if I develop my algorithms in this particular manner, it will not take me anywhere, right? And then the one before the last, weighing up factors affecting strategic decisions. Uh, Now, when you have some amount of information with you, always try to uh, make decisions, right? Whether you should go ahead, you start writing, whether you need to develop it more, right? So when you have to put everything in summary, uh, when you have data, when you have information, when you have results, always ask what it really means. When you answer that question, you will be at a point to see whether you need to do more to publish or to communicate your results, your findings to the others, or you are ready to communicate your results to the others, right? So when you are ready to communicate your results to the others, yes, your results, your research communication, the process will jump start. The next, Bandhani. Now, these two tables here are also important. Now, these are not the adverbs that I gave you. Now, this slide is one of my favorites, because in writing, in scientific writing, you need, as in the previous slide, I also said, you don't just describe, you always interpret, right? So your research communication, whether it's a thesis, whether it's a research paper, conference paper, or even an oral presentation, a technical write-up, whatever it is, you need to move from just reporting something to explaining things, right? Reporting is just describe your observations, right? But if you interpret them, that is the very meaning of the research communication, right? So you have to think about this very deeply when you want to explain your observations, your results, explain its importance, what it means. Yes, you are going from descriptive to interpretive, right? So this slide is all about using the language to move from descriptive to interpretive. Always interpret your results. When writing, when you report your research, it's very important not to stop just at descriptions, right? You have to first analyze and then interpret, right? So let me explain this a little bit further. Descriptive, as I told you, just to tell the reader what really happened, what you observed, your observations. Now, in your courseworks also at the university, you have one-page observations, right? And then you have results and your discussion. Your observations is just descriptive. Results also will be just descriptive. Your discussion is interpretive, right? Tell the reader why the results are important, why it really matters, why do you need to read it and just understand what I have done, right? Now, very simple examples. If I just say that this morning there was a rainfall of 15 centimeters, it was an increase from yesterday, right? Uh, now, why did I say so? The increase in water. You just tell why did you do that? What does that suggest? 50 centimeters, is that high or low? Is it common to have in this particular month of the year, right? Uh, Now, are you measuring the rainfall to look at the water availability for irrigation, whether it's for drainage infrastructure, whether you are looking at flood prone flood potential, whatever it is. So just the water level increased by centimeters after the rainfall. The implication of this increase of 15 centimeters is blah, blah, blah. It will flood this area. You keep on continuing with the interpretation, right? Just observation might not be sufficient. Now, let us go through some of these examples that I've given here. Now, let us see. Uh, now, there are two boxes here, right? Now, both boxes are the same, but now, whenever you want to move from descriptive to interpretive, you can make use of either of these boxes. The only difference is the first box is the starting of sentence. Uh, the second is a connector, right? Now, just take some examples. Now, on the left box that you have here, we have some phrases to start interpreting the results. The first one is this shows that. Whenever you start a sentence with this shows that, it suggests, telling us, or it reveals, it highlights, it points, or it implies. This you can replace the word shows with this suggests, this tells us, this highlights us, this points to, this implies. For example, you can say this shows that students who sleep longer will tend to perform better in exams, right? This shows that now the rainfall. You can say the water level increased by 15 centimeters after a 20-minute rainfall event. This shows that an area of 2 hectares will go underwater in the you tell the name of the area, right? You first give some facts, your observations, and then continue with that with this shows that, right? Or this is important or significant because the area will get flooded, right? Uh, the BOD of the river increased from 10 to 15 during the last 3 months. It is worth noting, it is important because there's a drinking water intake, say 1 kilometer from the point of discharge. You just continue with some examples, right? Uh, these are some of the examples that you can make use of uh, to 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 give some examples, right? Uh, and This is important. This calls attention to. This can be illustrated by what this means is, right? So you keep on giving examples for these, right? I will give you some more examples later. Uh, and on the box on the right hand side are connectors, right? Tells us that this suggests that which is significant as it is, and so on, right? So whenever you evaluate, analyze, if you want to say put everything into context, you use these examples, right? So the next example, the next slide, please. Yes, now, some of these can be made use of when you are using critiquing, whenever you use expressing, and also whenever you put things together. These are also very important expressions that you can make use of. These are just examples, right? Whenever you want to write persuasively, clearly, whenever you want your expressions to be precise, whenever you want to point out certain things, certain important things, you can make use of some of these phraseology. A question that needs to be asked, however, is whether. This is a very strong example that I'm giving you with an adverb in the middle, right? So this is an interpretive way of doing things with an adverb in the middle, right? For example, I've written down certain examples in front of me. Uh, Whenever you have this kind of phrase, like the first bullet point, a question that needs to be asked, however, is whether this introduces a thoughtful doubt or missing something, right? And if I can give you an example, a question that needs to be asked, however, is whether the long-term durability of recycled concrete can last for 100 years, right? So there's a doubt that recycled concrete might not last for 100 years, or so maybe 50 years, right? So then, with that sentence, you are critiquing, you are questioning the durability of recycled concrete, right? Then you can make an argument. Therefore, we have to make sure that recycled concrete should be made stronger, right? Uh, so if you are looking at another example, the question that needs to be asked, however, is whether the algorithm, the performance of the algorithm remains stable with while processing real-time data. Right. These are meaning, say just examples that I'm giving you without any context. So we are not very sure whether the algorithm is stable, right? Whenever it is supposed to process real-time data or vast set of data. And the second bullet point, a weakness with this argument, however, is that you make some arguments and then you criticize, right? This criticizing is very important in scientific writing because you trying to find gaps without no still you don't dismiss the previous argument. Yeah? You just find a weakness. The previous argument is correct, but it has a weakness. This weakness can be the point that you want to highlight, right? uh, Say, for example, the weakness in this argument is that, however, is that it assumes ideal thermal conductivity without accounting for energy losses due to surface imperfection. You can just go on writing something like that. And third example, one of the limitations with this explanation is that you just keep on writing, right? You try to this is not criticizing, right? This critique is a constructive criticism that you make in your discussion, right? It very clearly gives an idea for the reader that you know something about what has done in the past, and you are in a position to interpret your findings with compared to the others, right? So these phraseology might be very useful for you in your future write-ups, right? The next slide. The next slide also, now I have given some two write-ups. You have to just please, now this I wanted to give you an exercise, but this is not a time to give you an exercise, but always you can find the descriptive content and how these authors have gone into interpretive or critical language. Right now, let us look at the left-hand side column and very quickly find out. Now, this study provided the quantitative data. Now, can you see this is just descriptive, right? The first sentence, this study provided quantitative data on wetland area loss in the concept, this some metropolitan CMA associated with the implementation of the approved urban plan. Right? This is just a descriptive sentence. Now, these researchers has not stopped there. They have, although no specific information is available, results suggest. Now, can you see the phraseology that I was talking to you before? Although no specific information is available, Results suggest a general. Now they are going to interpret the results. Can you see the interpretative part? Results suggest a general loss, blah 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 blah. Right. So this blends with the description, the description followed by the interpretation, right? And then the second, just keep on reading that. Indeed, data on these effects are available for European and northern countries. Now he's connecting what he has observed with the previous work to show that others also have done. And the last part of the first paragraph on the left-hand side, while the situation in Latin American countries where coastal areas are undergoing strong urbanization, is largely unknown. Can you see he's interpreting the previous work here, right? So that is how descriptive and interpretive part are put together in the discussion or wherever your write-up is, right? And then the second paragraph on the left-hand side, this study's first contribution is the improved RS method. Now, this is just descriptive, right? And then we used ML remote sensing that has already been performed. This is descriptive, right? However, here it was improved now what they have done, right? This RS method was relatively effective. Now they are going to interpret what they have done. The last sentence of the paragraph, right? Now let us look at the right hand the paragraph. The first few lines, in recent years, a finite element upper bound, blah, 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 blah. The second the line, the UBLA method uses the theorem. All these are just descriptions from the previous work, right? And in the middle of the page, you have uh, the 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 extension of the description part. So the first paragraph altogether are all descriptive, right? They are summarizing the previous work descriptively, and the second part. Can you see the second part is entirely interpretive. In fact, the LA method can generate. Now they are going to interpret what they have mentioned in the first paragraph, right? Therefore, the drawbacks. Now, this word therefore is a very strong connector in interpretation. The drawback of the assumed failure surfaces can be avoided. In the past few decades, most slope stabilities have been based on John. Now, can you see the second paragraph is entirely interpreting what others have done in the past, right? So these two examples are very good examples of how to put the observations and the interpretation put together, which is key to any scientific writing, right? So the next paragraph I have given the summary of the observations of the previous slide. The next slide, please. Yes. Now, just go through the previous example and have a look at this table, how contrastive adverbs, interpretive transitions, the critiquing languages, and all these have been explained. Right. Now we have come to the last very short section on the discussion. If you have any questions up to now, Professor Banduri, can we give them some? Now I just will take only about 10 to 15 minutes from your time from now onwards. We are going to finish the lecture soon. If you have any questions, you can phrase them. I will answer them late. You can just type them in. Now, the publishing and ethical practices, by just summarizing this, I will wind up today's presentation. Now, this is a very critical part of any research, publishing your work and doing work ethically. Now, doing research is not just producing results. It's about how you present your results, how you give credit to others, and also how you maintain integrity throughout the process. Those are very important, right? So you need to present your results accurately. You need to give credit to the others, and you need to maintain integrity, right? Whether you are writing a report or submitting a paper or sharing findings with others, you need to follow very strictly some ethics, right? So without publications, without these ethical practices, research will not develop. Research will not go anywhere, right? Next slide, please. There are 5 things that you need to understand when you publish, when you maintain your ethical practices, right? So these are incredibly important. These are very important, whether you are in your undergraduate studies, whether you are doing postgraduate, whether you are experienced researcher. There are very standard publishing and ethical practices. The first one is you have to be honest, you have to be responsible, you have to be respectful. You have to maintain your integrity. So whatever is the circumstances are, you have to avoid plagiarism altogether. No room for plagiarism, right? Always give credit to where credit is due. Write a sentence, a paragraph, idea, a diagram, whatever it is. If it is not yours, give credit to from whom you brought that from. Even though you paraphrase something, even though you modify a diagram, even though you modify the method, you have to still give credit to others. That is how the research will propagate. Second, you have to properly cite. Now, there are citations. You should not misguide other readers. You have APA citation methods, IEEE, Harvard, whatever they are. You have to follow proper citation practices, right? Don't give bogus or false citations. That is also cheating. Then data integrity. Never ever change or make up data to make your results better. I know research students are very good at that, right? Data cooking, right? Uh, in engineering, this is very dangerous. In science, it's very dangerous because your information might lead to the next level of research, right? If you are doing research on structural stability or slope stability, right? If you are doing research on some electrical safety, right? You are lying, you are cheating, might be very dangerous. Then you have to publish reasonably. Don't ever publish the same results 2 times, right? More than 1 time, right? You have to make your don't always, unless otherwise you don't need to don't break research into small parts. It's not like salami, right? Don't ever think that number of publications will ever count. The quality of publications, even though it's very few, that will take you far. And always, when you publish, always think about the order of authorship, right? If you are the supervisor of research, don't ever steal your research from your student. It's ethically not appropriate for a supervisor to be the first author, even though he brings in money, even he puts a lot of effort in doing research. If it is the student's work, always give credit to the student's work. And always, if you are working in a group, give credit to everybody. Uh, it doesn't mean that you need to include all the colleagues in the as authors. Giving credit is 2 ways. One is including them in as co-authors, or say including them in the acknowledgements. But please acknowledge their involvement. Then respect for human and environmental ethics. If there are any ethics that you need to clear, you need to get ethical clearance, no matter what. Otherwise, you will be in grave danger. The next slide, please. You need to avoid predatory journals at any cost, right? Now, it has been estimated that 30% of the online journals fall into this category, right? As researchers, it's very essential, it's very important for us to ensure that our work is published in a credible journal, right? Peer-reviewed journal, right? Don't try to publish in critical predatory journals, and don't ever search for articles in predatory journals, right? Now there's a list called Beall's list, right? I'll give you the link. Always look at the Beall's list, and if there are they have identified potentially predatory publishers. Don't ever even think of submitting them, and also never cite or publish, never cite papers which are published in these predatory journals, right? Publishing in a predatory journal is like, සිංහලෙන් කියන අර කිරි කලයකට ගොම බින්දුවක් දැම්මා වගේ කියලා. You may have 100 very good papers. If you have just one paper in a predatory journal, it will kill your stature. It will kill your standing as a researcher. Next slide, please. Similar to predatory journals, you have Vanity Press. Vanity Press are the books published by bogus publishers, right? Now, because the damage that can create by book publications are much higher, because books are longer than research papers, and the much of the information included in these bogus books might mislead these students, researchers altogether. Publishing, looking at this Vanity Press, bogus publishers who publish books, again creates a lot of damage, right? And the last the next slide, please. Now there are certain indications that the journal can be a predatory, right? Many are open access journals and they require fees. The quality they don't have proof for editing or just peer reviews. They have unethical business practices. They make false claims about impact factors. They failure to adhere to accepted standards or scholarly publications, and they aggressively solicit manuscripts. If ever you get emails from a journal asking for manuscripts, don't ever think of submitting papers for such journals, because reputed journals never beg for papers. They get more papers than they can even manage. The next slide, I have given you some links to these Beall's list. If you ever want to, if you are unsure whether a journal is a predatory or not, I mean, these websites are comes very handy. Don't worry, you can just one of the best resources is the Beall's list. There are 3 links: publishers, bogus publishers, these predatory journals, and vanity book publishers. And also, whenever you publish for open access journals, always it's go to openaccessjournals.com. It again gives open access predatory journals, right? These are not 100% complete, but at least they are great places to start with, right? So always remember, whether you publish, so where you publish matters, right? Because your work deserves a good publication, right? In most cases, you make payments, but if the journal is a predatory one, you lose both your research work, your credibility, and your money. And the next slide, I have given you a link to a very good publication. If you have time, look at this publication, Predatory Journals and Conferences. And this inter-academic partnership is an authority looking after publication ethics and global scientific publications. You can have a look at this. It's very comprehensive, right? The next slide, I think I showed you this before. Now, to wrap up this session, I want to make an important points. First, never refer to or cite predatory journals, right? Second, never submit your work to these journals. And always this think, check, submit website is always a very good place to start with. This think, check, submit org is a site where it gives you a lot of guidance to choose the better journal, not in terms of scientific content, but ethical considerations. And also on the left-hand side bottom, I have given you some useful examples. COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics, is not the COPE that we have in Sri Lanka, the funny COPE that we have. this Committee on Publication Ethics, a very reputed organization. Then there's the Scholarly Kitchen, and then we have ALPSP. Then we have OASPA or OASPA or DOAG, Director of Open Journal Access, very, very popular among researchers. And then we have Cobel's list and the Bears list, which gives links. I think I have given hyperlinks to these websites. Please have a look at those. And the next slide also gives more information about Think, Check, Submit. The next slide is also the same. If you want to submit to a journal, please go to the checklist and see. If you want to publish a book chapter or book, go to the right-hand side and click. I think I have. Pras Bandhu, you can share the presentation that I have shared with you today. I think I have made the hyperlinks. And the next slide uh, is about the scope. COPE is the Committee on Publication Ethics. If a journal is listed in the COPE in COPE, that is if they are accredited by COPE, which means that the publisher or the journal is very genuine and they follow very strict ethical standards, right? Both the editorial board as well as reviewers, right? So whenever you see a journal listed as a COPE member, always rely on them. They are the best places to no, ResearchGate is not a predator. It's not a journal. It's a forum for people to publish, share their research findings. ResearchGate is not a. It's a forum to share research. But whatever that is shared on ResearchGate, don't believe that they are genuine publications. You can publish whatever that you have published elsewhere in ResearchGate, but you can even publish your own manuscripts even without editing. Whenever you are using ResearchGate, be careful when you download the papers. But if they are reprints from reputed journals, yes, they are good. And the next slide also just to say no to plagiarism. No to avoid plagiarism altogether. Don't copy and paste. Don't now even nowadays you have this AI generated things. I don't know whether they fall into plagiarism or not, but don't ever fall into such substandard practices, right? Don't be a copycat. Say no to plagiarism. The last so the next slide is important because these are some of the references that I have been using during my postgraduate studies. These are I have all these 7 books with me. These are not very expensive books. They are very, very smart. They are very useful. The one is this Strunk and White in the middle, Elements of Style. It's free to download. You can even download that. It's a very small guide where for any writer, it provides lots of useful tips. And the second set, the manual, these manuals, the Chicago manual style, this APA manual, publication manual, and also this manual for writers that is by Turabian. And these 3, the blue color one in the middle on the top, and the 2 middle ones, they are very, very good manuals of style. And these are the 2 on the left corner, Webster's New World, this complete desk dictionary, uh, and this and style guide. Now this is not just a dictionary. It gives you say examples of writing, words put in sentences, right? And this Longman's language activity is also the same. It is also it's not just a dictionary. It's the yeah, it gives the meanings of words, and it is again uh, uh, a dictionary as well as a workbook where examples of word usage is also given, right? And my favorite is this Greg reference manual. This is about I think the soft cover would be about maybe less than $20. This is one of the most useful manuals I ever had. Practical guide for grammar, punctuations, communications, both academic, business, and technical communications, formal writing styles. Perfect for any professional for documentation writing. If you ever find this book, please purchase that. So these books are very useful for any researcher for research writing. Now the last slide that I want to close the presentation. I thought this cartoon is not funny, but it is very important. It's very nice, right? Now this girl, he says, I'd be happy to explain my research. Do you want the short, simplified version that can actually understand, or the complete, bewildering, complex version that can pretend to understand? So it's funny, but it's not funny. This is the real situation in research writing, research publications, right? It makes a great point. As researchers, we know we often get caught up in complex theories, long technical explanations, experiments, modeling, jargon, technical jargon, and academic hiccups here and there. And true understanding sometimes is very rare, right? The real impact often comes from your own experiences, right? Sometimes you have a short version, but your supervisor might need a complicated version than what you want to have, right? So whenever you have, whenever you need to write a paper, prepare a presentation, explain your work, ask for yourself whether you want to make others understand or whether you want to make others bewildered, complex version which nobody can understand, right? So I think something simple which others can understand is always the best version, right? But some researchers think that if others cannot understand, it's the level of the research, right? It's not. If others cannot understand, there's no point in doing research, right? Always make sure that whatever that you do can be understood by your fellow researchers and the researchers at large. Probably not the lay people, not everybody, but at least your fellow researchers and the like-minded researchers, right? So always make sure that they understand your work. That's the importance of conducting research and research communication. And my last thought, thank you very much for your attention. I hope that this session gave you some practical tools. I'm so sorry I was handicapped without having Microsoft Office here. Thank you very much, Professor Bandhani, for helping me with transitioning the slides. And I have to leave you with a beautiful quote by Albert Einstein. He's a German speaker, but I can't pronounce this German. But the meaning is, God is subtle, but he is not malicious. To me, this is a reminder that the truth in research may be complex, very hidden, but it doesn't mean that it will ever deceive you, right? Our job as researchers is to seek that out, how difficult it is, and then communicate it clearly to the others, to share your findings with the others. That is how you can contribute to the advancement of your research, right? And share it with integrity. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very happy to take any questions from here onwards. Professor Bandhani, can we
Yes.
stop the presentation?
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Jagat. Professor Manatunga, thank you so much for your very informative and very nice presentation. I hope that all of you have understood because he's talking very using the very simple English, and And I think it's a fantastic presentation. And so now the forum is open to you for
Yeah.
any questions. You can hands up or you can raise questions
Yeah,
or
Dinesh
put
Kumar
into the
has
chat
asked
box. Thank
one.
you.
Yeah, Dinesh, and yeah, I think some journals have they have drastically they have come down on their standards. Very unfortunately, uh, some have become say profit making. Now, when the journals when they bring commercial interests before the academic their own ethical integrity, sometimes this happens, right? They are when they now long time back when we were students about 30, 40 years back, most of the journals did not charge a publication fee, but nowadays they charge maybe about $3,000, 2,500 euros. So expensive to publish. Now this has become a profit making exercise. For that, when I mean the more number of papers, they make more money. So they have come down on their standards. So I think now I think your intuition and your advice from your senior colleagues, your supervisors should be a guidance for you to pick the most suitable journal. If you ever think that a journal is predatory, don't ever think of publishing. But it might not be a predatory journal, but if you have doubts, uh, just skip that journal.
First, Mantuk, another thing that most of the students they just go to internet and find out something, and then they think that's a literature. So we have to tell them that how the scientific writing or whatever the literature is. Generally, we have to go for good journals, so that the CI journals. So would you please make a word of it? Like let's
Yeah,
say
that's
it's
why I
we
said
or
now,
the yeah.
now before publishing, you need to find papers. You need to do your literature search and then find literature. So avoid these now. Just don't go to internet and just look for papers. Yeah, you have to go to internet, but just don't search on Google. You go for Google Scholar or Science Direct or go for any database and then find papers. But if you go to uh, now, Google Scholar is not a database. It's kind of a, I don't know how call it, but it's a record of research publications for researchers. But anybody can list their his or her own publications. In that case, Google Scholar might have lots of predated journals also included in the publication lists. But if you go through Science Direct, it's owned by Elsevier. They don't entertain any. They don't have any predatory journals as such. But if you if you go to these journal pages directly, that might give you some understanding of whether they are journals, whether they are predatory or not. And Hasita Marasekar, what is the generally accepted maximum age for? No, I think there's no. It depends on the argument that you make. It's the argument that you make. Now, for example, if you are looking at say electronics or telecommunications, very recently introduced sciences, they might not have say literature spanning for more than 10, 15 years. But if you go for civil engineering research, if you go for natural sciences, chemistry, physics, the publications might even go back 100 years. Uh, I know that now most of the slope stability studies were conducted in 1970s, 80s. Now that's now almost 40 years back. But if you want to review them, yeah, if there's a reason why you need to include them, you can. But now, for example, if certain theories have been modified later, say a theory has been proposed in 2005. In 2001, it was proved inaccurate and a new theory has been introduced. But if you miss 2010 paper, but if you cite 2005 paper, that's a mistake that you make, right? So you have to be careful whenever you do a literature review. make sure that you do a thorough literature review covering entire spectrum. It depends on what you want to report. There's no generally accepted maximum age. But sometimes, in general, people say that if if there had been no recent papers on that particular topic, people say, for example, for the last 20 years, if no work had been done related to that particular topic, scientists they generally agree that that particular topic has now become very saturated. There's no room for new theory to come in, right? So these matured fields will stop somewhere. Yes, Madhushan, I have shared the presentation with Professor Banduni, the entire presentation, the previous one as well as today's one. She will distribute that with you.
Yes, the ISL Master Family will distribute to
Yes.
you that once if you have registered, and anyway that registration will open by him once again. That if there are any newcomers, so I'll share it with him, and he will share to you. He will send it to you.
Yes,
Okay.
this Sudarshi, your question is very difficult to answer. This is NDPI, they have very superb quality journals. They charge a lot of money, but now I think this can be connected with Dinesh Kumar's question, the comment before. Now MDPI has come down on their quality in certain journals. Now you have to MDPI journals. You can't put all the journals together. Because there are some journals published by NDPI, I have noted that the quality is not that high. Always look at the journal title, its impact factor, and then make the decision.
Okay. Would you please tell them that how the
Then
impact
Dinesh,
impact factor also?
Dinesh, I think Professor Banduni, for you to consider this Prisma, if somebody can, I think Professor Kaumal might.
Yes, he's doing the referencing in
Yeah, I
next week
think
or
Dinesh,
later. Yes.
Professor Kaumal might touch upon Prisma.
Okay. I'll talk to him. And sir's next one will be so like how to carry out a comprehensive literature service. Would you please do it not next week but later on? But however,
Yeah,
are we going to have that
let us
lecture also?
invite Professor Kaumal to do the literature search part first, and then I
Yeah,
will do the
referencing.
literature review part. I will combine the abstract writing also put together, and then I will do a combined session.
Okay, and also we want another session from you. That's especially because of these full papers nowadays. It's a practice publishing in the conference journals. Let's say conferences. So, are you going to have it, sir, also?
Yeah, let's have one session towards the end. Once we have listened to all the others, we will have one
Okay.
interactive session.
Okay. Thank you. And dear participants, do you have any other question from sir regarding that the first one of introduction to scientific writing? Uh, so you can, I don't know whether you are muted or, yeah, probably that ISL has muted the time also trying. And thank you so much, Professor Jagat Manasanga, for supporting us by conducting this series of lectures, especially for the ISL associate members and who are doing the research as well as who are the undergraduates. And I know that students are troubling you, asking the lecturer this lecture series also. And on behalf of the ISL LPP committee, and I'm highly grateful to you, sir, that of conducting this lecture series. Yes, and okay, and the next one will be Dr. Upaka Ratnayaka about how this engineering research bring into engineering problem bring into a research. So this will be conducted on June 1st. He's from Ireland and he was with us earlier in the state. And I hope that your participation, you will get benefit out of his research. And sometimes the referencing styles would be on next Saturday. However, I have to come. I have to make sure that for Kama's availability. They said that it will be on Saturday. I hope you will join me. Or otherwise, it will be after the next lecture, maybe June next, the second week of
Prof.
June.
Yeah,
Yes,
Professor
Professor Shamila. Yes,
Professor
Mr.
Professor
Shamila. Yes.
Vandani, yeah, can I have a few words?
Yes, yeah. This
Yeah,
engineer
thank you so
Kamala
much.
Niranjan,
Yeah,
yes, she's at our vice president of the ISL as well as the chairman of Library Publication and Publicity Committee.
yeah,
Engineer Shamila,
thank you very
please.
much. Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Manatunga. Yeah, you are continuous to effective and very fantastic to lectures continuously. And I think all the members were really appreciating. And thank you so much, Professor Manatunga. Again, and Professor Bandani, and I know how hard it's to coordinate such a series of lectures, so you are doing it fantastic. So thank you so much. And all
Thank
the
you very much.
participants, yes, I
Thank
want
you very
to
much for
thank.
inviting me for this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And everyone, I know so many people are calling, so this will be continued very smoothly. And thank you once again for Professor Banduni for your tireless and tiresome coordinating part. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Engineer
Thank you.
Kamala, and
Thank
also
you.
Mr. Chavila. Thank you so much. And of course, that Professor Manatunga, because of you, that this much of gathering here, over 100. And I hope that next time that they are, this is very beneficial to the students and the graduates as well as undergraduates, as well as who are in the research in this country, as well as who are joining it outside of the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Agat Manatunga, for
Thank
your
you. Thank you very much.
tireless presentation and tireless supporting to us to upgrade the research in our country. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the participants. I hope to see you next week also. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Chandler shall be winding up the session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of you.